My personal opinion on the sport on its own, for me, is very imbalanced. Like, to only lift, that's fucked up. You know, like, you need to have other things. Like, you need to go out and run, or you need to do some boxing, or you need to throw a kettlebell around, or whatever it is. You don't want to get stuck in this thing where you just deadlift and squat and bench press every day. And
it's kind of like, I kind of liken it to if you were to play the piano and to make music, you were just pressing one key all the time.
Yeah.
You're not utilizing all of these other tools that are there for you. It's very simplistic, which is the beauty of it, but it's also the trap, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. And that's when you start chasing numbers, and before you know it, your body's all fucked up and you're like, walk around like a cripple. You can lift shitloads of weight, but you can't do anything else. Fall down the stairs and shit because your fucking ankle's not moving for its full range of motion and shit like that, you know.
So what does your lifting look like now? Like, are you lifting
Pretty
at the moment?
dismal for him.
One day a week.
We're eventually going to get the numbers, aren't we?
Yeah, I think
coming.
one day a week. I like to. I've got for my own personal training. I think I've gotten to a point where I'm happy with my strength. I think you get to a certain point where you have to start putting in more time for diminished returns, and I feel like I'm at that point where it's like, all right, well, if I want my numbers to go up, I need to be putting more time into those lifts, which means it's taking more time away from other things. And for me, like, mobility is like high on my agenda this year. I want to get more flexible. I'm really tight all over. That's starting to change now. And if I put more time into adding more weight to the bar, then it takes more time away from me doing other things. So it's all about ratio, you know. If you're a lifter, then obviously lifting is going to take up the majority of your training time. You should still be doing other things, like to undo the potential damage that it's doing to you over time. That doing the one thing over and over again would do to anyone. But for me, one day a week seems to keep everything at a place where I'm happy. I'm not interested in chasing numbers anymore. I did for a little bit, and to tell you the truth, I was never exceptionally strong when it came to bar work, but I still recognise its benefits, and I can't step away from it completely. But yeah, one day a week, 1.5 hours seems to keep everything in check. What about you?
Yeah, mine's probably the same at the moment. I'm not taking it too seriously. I probably, throughout like last year, maybe at least one day a week, sometimes two. I tried to get back into my cleans a little bit, and that's Olympic lifting side of things, and I wasn't really there mentally, which I found was like, you know what, if you're not really super keen on it, don't do it, because it'll just end up kind of damaging you a little bit, at least in my case. But squatting and deadlifting, I probably maintain that minimum once a week. And I'm the same as you. I got to a point where I felt like the numbers were high enough, and there was so many other things in my training that I wasn't exploring. So spending another year to add 5 kilos to my deadlift was like, well, fuck, I could be using that year to like learn how to do a handstand or, you know, some other cool shit. And so, when I looked at it from that perspective, I thought, yeah, what do I really want out of this? And it's like you get to a point where you feel pretty strong at that thing, so then move on to something else.
What would you say would be like, I mean, for our members, our like benchmark lifting? How strong do you need to be on the bar for a Jungle Brothers member, or for someone who's a member of our tribe anyway?
Good question. I have an opinion around it. I think that you should be able to deadlift double body weight. You know, for a guy, I think double body weight is good. I think for a female, the same goal would be awesome, but maybe a little bit less, maybe 1.5 times body weight. I feel like a body weight and a half back squat is a pretty good thing to shoot for. You know, in my personal experience, I feel like double body weight back squat's a bit of a journey, and perhaps it's not worth putting that much time into it. Yeah, are we looking at bench press? People
probably
want to know,
not.
right?
Yeah, I guess so.
People want to know.
Probably not as applicable for us because we don't do a lot of it. It's more of a comes around every, 6-7 months kind of thing?
Yeah,
6
that's
months?
right. Although I do know there is one man out there who this question is on the tip of his tongue at every class. That man's name is Adi.
Yeah.
Shout out Adi. He wants to know how much a good number is for bench pressing. And I suppose, given the frequency at which we don't train it, I think it'd be cool to be able to bench press your body weight for a few reps, or maybe body weight and a quarter for one. You know, that's a good guide if you're working on it for 8 weeks or so.
Yeah, I think those numbers sound right about. And I think also like hitting a double body weight for your deadlift, it doesn't have to stay there. But I think it's important to set a goal like that, go out and get it, and then if it drifts off, that's fine. But you've the journey of getting your lift to that level, the changes that your body goes through to get there, you keep them for life, And this is it not even like the physical changes, but the mental changes, because it takes a lot of discipline, Really, at the end of the day, it's a boring lift, Most of them can get pretty boring because you're running them week in and week out, and it's like, man, fuck, nothing really changes except for a little bit of extra weight on the bar, so it just hurts a bit more every week, and that takes a lot of discipline to do that. I really admire the athletes that can get in there and just keep doing it over and over and over again. It's hard work, Put your body under a shitload of strain. I can't do it, I do it for a little bit, get to those numbers were good for me, and then it's like, no, I'm move on to other things now, But
it also depends on your environment too a lot, right? Like, I got to say, when I was training, when I worked at like Anytime Fitness for those couple of years in the city, and I was just there, it's like no one's doing anything cool there anyway. There's no one working on the rings or practicing handstands or like trying to do the splits or, whatever. So it was like deadlifting and squatting was about as exotic as it got. So in that environment, if you're not aware of the things you're missing out on, it's easy to just keep doing that thing, right? Like, there's still people going to fucking bro gyms and doing pec deck and bench press and delt flies, the same fucking chest routine that like the guys before Arnold Schwarzenegger were talking about in the 70s. So, I mean, we're capable of dragging ourselves through the mud for a long time until we realize, oh shit, there's all this other cool stuff,
Yeah, and I think that's also, you could be doing that workout for, I've met people who've been doing workouts like that for 10 years and never changed a routine. You see it all the time as a PT. People are like, oh, so what are you training at the moment? They'll tell you what they're doing. Oh, how long have you been doing that? Oh, pretty much since I started. Yeah. Which is like, I guess that's moving into a different subject, but that's more of a trap, People get stuck in these cycles. And I think that's something that we're also very aware of in our gym, Jungle Brothers, that you can get caught in these comfort zones as a coach, and you don't venture out and look for new things and stuff you can bring back to the gym to. Some people look at it as, oh, there's too much variety, and the old schools are like, you got to stick to these particular lists because they're the ones that give the most benefit. But for us, it's like, it's part of evolution, as a brand, to be able to continually seek out new stuff and bring it back to the gym and play with it and keep yourself, like, even as a coach, like, motivated, because if you teach the same thing day in and day out, it's fucking boring,
Yeah, that's right.
There's nothing better than going away for a workshop for 5 days and coming back and sharing all that new knowledge with everyone in the gym. It just brings in a big buzz. I love it when the boys go out and do it and they bring back new stuff and we get to sit down and just break it down, especially when it's stuff that's breaking all the old rules, Love that.
Totally.
Even if it's not fucking as good or just as good, who cares, It's different, it's exciting, and it's challenging, and all those things combined equal just having fun,
Speaking of which, I'm actually going to a weightlifting workshop on the squat and the deadlift next month.
Nice.
which is kind of funny, yeah, because, like
I was
we
quite
just-
surprised when you told me that, actually. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was. You know what it was that drew me to it? It was Drew drew me to it. One of the fellas that trains me, Drew Slater. Shout out Drew.
What's up, Drew?
He's been doing some lifting training with a guy called Alan Romero. Shout out Alan.
Sounds like a MMA fighter.
Doesn't he? Romero. He's a white guy though.
Ah.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the bill. But, man, we can do something about that maybe. But he, after talking with Drew, Alan's got this kind of unique take on lifting and using, really focusing on using the breath work to stabilize the torso and positioning yourself in a position that is mildly, and this is without having gone to the workshop yet, this is just kind of hearsay from what has been passed on through Drew, but his positioning is more, typically you're taught in weightlifting to have as much, almost as much extension in the spine as you can, chest up, bum out, nice straight back. His is a little bit more towards tiny bit of flexion, so a little bit more of a rounded spine, however it's still pretty fucking straight, but slightly different head position, different breathing. And he's achieved some incredible results with that, and I know Drew experienced that firsthand. And so I was like, man, this is cool. Like, there's a guy out there he's not a CrossFit gym, so he's following his own methodology. He's obviously had coaching from some other unique sources, and he's telling a story that's different to what the majority of people are, which is very much mirrors what we're doing. And so we had an exchange on Facebook, and he seemed like a real cool guy. And he put this workshop together in Sydney next month, so I'm going to go. And I more want to experience him as a coach and obviously pick up a couple of good little tips on the squat and the deadlift. But I know that Drew had experienced a bunch of back issues doing a lot of that stuff in CrossFit. He started, he took a long time off it, and then he went back to lifting with this coach, and he's now lifting heavier than he was before, injury-free.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that kind of piqued my interest. There's something special there, something unique.
Oh, I can't wait to hear all about it when you get back off the course.
Yeah, maybe I'll stop fucking around with handstands and just start deadlifting day in, day out again.
Yeah, if you start doing that, then I'm going to have to start doing it too, bro.
T and I have an ongoing, competition with the weightlifting thing. I do, however...
Now that Adrian's gone.
I have an ace up my sleeve, though, that T doesn't know about. And I'm yet to pull it out on him.
Can you tell us what that is now, or is it top secret?
Well, we compare numbers, right? We always compare numbers. It's always like, it will be testing week, and he'll be like, oh, yeah, I got this. And then I'll be like, oh, fuck, I got this. And then he'll be like, I was just kidding, I actually got this. I'm like, shit. But he weighs more than I do. So when we boil it down and put it onto that scale, power to weight ratio, son, it's hard. It's neck and neck. I'll never bench as much as he does. I'll fucking never squat as much as you do. How much did you squat when you were chasing after the back squat back in?
I got to a 157.5.
Jesus.
Which in the squatting world is not that heavy, but in the Jungle Brothers world,
that's the king of the jungle.
So what's
all
that
that
in
matters.
terms of the body weight that you had?
That's
at
big
the time?
fish in small pond, bro. That's all that matters.
157. How much do you weigh?
I
90.
am 87 kilos. At the time, I would have been 90.
Okay.
Yeah. Gee, I think even with the fucking body weight scale, I still lose on that one.
Squat is mine. Deadlifts, I'm not very good at. Luke told me that I'm more of a squatter than a deadlifter.
That's a nice thing to say.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the theory is behind that, but he has. I think it's to do with torso length and leverage and mobility and all that kind of stuff. But certain individuals are, and it makes sense. Some people are better at squatting and then they are deadlifting and vice versa. And then there's people that are really good at both.
Yeah.
But body type, I think, plays a really big role in any sport, and especially in lifting barbells.
I'm yet to find out.
Mobility is one of the biggest things, and I think this is so overlooked by so many different athletes. You have to be flexible, like really flexible, to be a high level lifter.
Yeah, this is This brings me to an interesting point that came up earlier this week. So I was talking with a buddy of mine, Andrew Reed. Shout out Andrew, who's we met at the movement camp a couple of years ago. He's a very accomplished strength conditioning coach, and I think he's up north somewhere coaching Queensland. And he writes a lot of articles for a few different online publications, and he's got some, he's right on point with his with the science side of things and the movement mechanics and all that kind of stuff. But he was asking me about the fighters that I work with and what my take is on training rotational power, and do I do it? Because there's a school of people who do a lot of it, and there's a school of people who think you don't need it, and blah, blah, blah. And we basically got into the conversation. I was like, you know what? I don't really look at too much of that at all, because most of the people I'm coaching, the fighters, the members of our gym, the whoever, they've got so many other things that they need to work on first before you start to get into these, these little nooks and crannies of strength and conditioning and human movement, that it's like, I'm not going to waste time on those. First, I'm going to teach you how to squat properly and fix your ankles and fix your stuck thoracic spine and whatever. But I find this an interesting kind of thing within the lifting world and within the strength conditioning world, and even within CrossFit a little bit, and not at all being critical, but is that often people will look, and coaches will look so far into the intricacies of what lifts am I using and what rep ranges and what cycle am I following and all this fucking science, when it's like, man, these people can't even put their fucking arms over their head properly, or they can't even comfortably rest in a squat position for like 5 minutes. So it's almost like you're trying to teach algebra to someone who can't add numbers together. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, I think it's very easy to get stuck on numbers, just in general, reps, sets, rest periods, calories, all this other
times.
Yeah, all of it, anything that's like, we're obsessed with numbers anyway. As humans, like, we want to document everything. It's how we document, But then you start to overlook other factors, like the ones you've just mentioned.
Happiness.
Yeah. It's fucking enjoying your workout, Not getting so bloody obsessed with chasing numbers. Because when you do things like this, especially for the average Joe, you start to lose contact with all the other things that you should be paying attention to, Like mobilizing before you train or while you're training, or someone telling you that doing any kind of loaded mobility between your sets is going to potentially compromise your lift or your maximum potential for that day. It's like, who cares? If you're not like a competition lifter and getting paid for it, isn't it better just to do what's potentially going to keep you healthier over time
than trying to get that other 1.25 kilos on your squat?
That's right. And at the end of the day, there's this line, and it irritates me because there's this line between performance and health and well-being, and it's fucking one big grey blob. And all the things that these top-end athletes are doing are getting mimicked by people like us, that are not getting paid to push their bodies to the limit. We just see them doing it and we're like, oh, okay, that's going to work for me.
I'm going to do Klokov squat cycle.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember when I was working as a PT at Fitness First, and so there was like a fucking article in the newspaper where all these rugby players were eating Maxi Bonds for breakfast or some shit, which is fine when you weigh 120 kilos and you're training 4 to 6 hours a day of explosive exercise and then running at a brick wall time and time again, and your genetic fucking compound or makeup is like not of the average human, then you probably need a little bit of extra calorie. But that next day, all the PTs are in there eating an ice cream in the morning, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then guess who else starts to eat ice creams in the morning? Then all of a sudden their clients are eating an ice cream after training. It's like, what the fuck? And all this stuff starts filtering down, Everyone's getting fucking injections to fix their knees and shit, so they get back at the gym within the next 2 weeks, and it's like,
yeah, I've got to get back onto the rack, man.
Fuck, bro? Take it easy, slow down, and start really focusing on what your goals are. And the first goal of anyone, even the professional athlete, is to not get injured. Because when you get injured, that's it. You can't train properly. It's as simple as that. I think that's something that we focus on a lot here at Jungle Brothers, and because of it, our injury rates are extremely low. And lo and behold, potential goes up because people feel more confident to push their bodies in places that they've never been before, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that, you know, the fact that we have the foundation program now, which gives that kind of, gives that understanding to new members and that sort of thing, teaches them how to mobilize a little bit, teaches them the basic understanding and coordination behind everything we do. It's true. It bulletproofs people, you know? And I got to say, we put our people through a bunch of crazy shit. You know, you look at some of the stuff we're doing in Fight Factory and Jungle Gymnastics and all those classes, like there's some pretty compromising positions that we're getting people into intentionally, and it's making them stronger and move better. I wanted to just touch on one thing that was kind of led into a moment ago, is the use of barbells for stretching, something you mentioned before, Paul. So it's not all about building explosive power and getting jacked, getting big glutes. There's also used a lot as a mobility tool, right?
Yeah, it's a great tool. Great tool. Mobility tool, and also like a trigger point tool as well to roll out on and that kind of stuff. It's it's an awesome tool. I think CrossFit bought a lot of the whole Kelly Starrett thing.
Trigger point side of things, for sure.
Yeah, and then looking at a lot of the stuff that Christopher Summers is doing with the barbell as well. But and also people just playing around with it out there, you know, doing stuff with it. But I think now, like, this movement towards loading up your stretches and moving through them is like changing the game again, you know, strengthening range of motion that you would never usually go to, you know, strength out of alignment, that kind of stuff.
What's an example of one?
Well,
Pause front squat, you know, which we've done a lot of in just the S&M program,
Just
right?
hang out down the bottom,
Yeah, like load up in a front squat.
tough.
Put as much weight on there as you can handle.
Yeah.
Do, you know, a few reps, but stay in that bottom position for 3 seconds, nice and active. And I mean, it's like, yeah, you fucking got gravitational forces pushing you as deep into that squat as possible, and then you have to get back out of there. You know, it's
With
it's
no
an-
momentum.
Yeah, it's an immense, you know, tool for mobility.
I've noticed that you've programmed that in the latest strength and movement with a 3-second pause at the bottom of the squat, which is great, you know, because it gives you time to think about the position that you've hit. It gives you time to sink deeper into the squat with that lift ratio or with that tempo. What's your thoughts on breathing down there?
It's a good question. For me personally, I tend to hold my breath at the bottom, and because I kind of know, like, for 5 reps, I'll be okay with that. But if it goes beyond 5 reps, and I think at the moment we're doing, I think it might be 6 reps.
6 to 8.
6 to 8, is it? So I usually get to a point after about 5 reps where I got to breathe. I will breathe. I use that concept of breathing behind the shield. So I'll maintain that abdominal tension. That's the shield, and then I'll breathe behind it. So my breath will be very shallow, you know, and it's not effective breathing at all. That's usually the ones when I post it on Instagram, my yoga friends are like, don't forget to breathe, man. Breathe. And it's like, sometimes stability is more important than, you know, smooth breathing. But then you finish your set and you put the weight down and you can catch your breath and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's kind of how I do it. I hold my breath as long as I can and just breathe at the top. And then once I have to, short little behind the shield breaths. Same for you?
It depends on the individual. For me, as I've been coaching that particular tempo, I've been playing around with the stuff that Steve Maxwell was talking about when we went on his workshop about cycling breath through your strength exercises, which is like, has always been taught to me as a big no-no. Like, you want to, again, what you're talking about holding the breath and creating that compressed air in the gas chamber and then squashing it up with the corset and that kind of stuff. Well, his approach was to cycle the breath and focus on the range, you know. And I think if you've already got optimal range for your squat, it's not important. You can just get stable and rack up the weight. But for the people that are still shy of a proper deep squat, I've been getting them to back off the weight a little bit and focus on cycling the breath to allow them to get a deeper position, and then get the end range first and then start loading it through. But it's still having weight on them, you know, depending on the individual. But yeah, I've been having a little play around with that. It's been great, actually, really successful. It's interesting how much range you can increase on somebody's movement just by getting them to not hold the breath, to cycle the breath, you know?
Yeah, right.
I'm really looking forward to this workshop that's coming up with this fellow. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Ah, yes, with the 6 harmony gung concept, the Qi Gung workshop with Stanley Tam.
I want to know more about
mystical.
that too.
Sounds fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're very lucky to have Stanley coming in, actually. He's, you remember we met him at the Steve Maxwell workshop.
Oh,
It was the Chinese guy.
the first Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt in China?
Exactly.
Oh,
That's him, the head of Shanghai BJJ.
that's iconic.
Yeah. So we ended up rolling together up at Gracie recently, and he was here for a couple of weeks, and he was training in there each day. And we just got chatting, and he was using all these, I could hear him making all these funny breathing sounds while we're rolling. And I don't know, he must be 10, 15, 20 years older than me. And he was kind of like playing the card of, oh, just go easy on me, young man, kind of thing. And then I tried to bash the guy, and then he just totally withstood it all and was a beast. But he had all this cool breathing stuff he was doing. And I asked him, oh, what are you doing? And he said, oh, it's Qigong. You know, it's a Chinese breath practice. And I've been doing it forever. He goes, you know, I teach it. I teach it in China, and it's a big part of things. And a conversation went on, and basically he's like, yeah, people in the West don't know how to breathe. They never look into it, and they suffer as a result. You know, they don't recover properly. They don't perform properly. It's just a really limiting factor, and it's a basic, fundamental, tool that humans have. And I mean, you know, we all know it, right? Like you look at anyone that's doing cool breath work, like Wim Hof or Hickson Gracie back in Choke when he's doing the ab thing, the intra-abdominal ab thing, you know, and it's something that I've been interested in for a while. So anyway, we continued the chat a couple of months later, and he said, man, I'm going to be in Sydney. I'll do a workshop for your people. So we're lucky enough to book him, and he's going to come in. I think it's Saturday the 28th of Feb. It's a 5-hour workshop, Qigong Foundation workshop.
Awesome.
Oh, put it in your diary.
Wow.
Yeah, get to that. The tickets
Yeah,
are up.
keen for that.
The event's on the Facebook page, and it's gone out in our recent newsletter. But tickets can be purchased through Eventbrite. So if you just search Jungle Brothers on Eventbrite ticketing website, you'll find it. But yeah, don't wait. I think we've already sold like maybe half the tickets, and there's only sort of 20 spots. So get in quick and fucking learn to breathe properly, man. I know I want to.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's amazing because, like, as far as the things we need to survive goes, it's like food. You can only last however many days, it's 28 days, whatever it is with food. Water, less so. But oxygen, you're only going to last a few minutes without breath. So
Yeah,
it
that's
just
right.
points to the fact that it's so important for us.
And we take it for granted, huh?
We do, we totally do.
You see some people breathing through the mouth, like heavy kind of mouth breathing going on, you know, with day-to-day activities, and you're like, oh shit, man, it's not meant to be that way. You know, there's things there, and then definitely when you're in the intensity of a workout, or you're rolling against someone, or you're sparring or whatever, there's all, you know, it plays such a huge role there, and I think by not looking into it, you're really doing yourself a disservice, you know. So yeah, excited. I
think it's 8 minutes, the world record.
Breath
Holding
hold?
your breath?
Yeah.
Was it a free diver or someone?
No, I think it was that magician. What's his name?
What?
Motherfucking David Copperfield.
Yeah, it's David Copperfield.
No, man, not David Copperfield,
Yeah,
really?
there's like a doco and shit on him. Yeah, he tried to use all these tricks to do it, and then he decided he just wants to break it. Did it on Oprah and went through like all these spasms and shit. Yeah, there's a TED doco out on it. Oh, TED Talk. Yeah, you got to watch it.
I went to that
8
guy's
minutes
show
something.
once when I was in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking blew my
Man, the guy's
mind,
pretty
son.
fucking dedicated. Yeah.
Dude, He fucking made a Harley Davidson appear out of thin air. I'm not even kidding. He was like, "Welcome to David Copperfield," and then he's like, and there's a fucking Harley Davidson right there in front of me.
Oh, smoke and mirrors, yeah.
You cannot even fathom it. The motherfucker walked through the Great Wall of China.
It's great. Yeah, he's good.
They showed a
I
video
do
of
love
that shit.
magicians. I love magicians.
Fuck, a magician or illusionist or the same thing? Maybe a bit of the same thing, I guess.
I don't know.
Call it what you will.
Jesus, man.
They do blow minds.
Blow
But
my-
he started crying on this TED talk.
after he hit the after he broke the record.
Yeah,
Or,
no, like
about
talking about it.
it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Because some kid told him that it was all fake when he had actually trained up to break the
It
record.
was the one real thing he'd ever done.
Besides the Harley.
It broke that
After
motherfucker's
the
heart. Yeah.
Did it on Oprah.
But were they real tears? Or is this just an illusion? All right, cool.
Leave
Hey,
it on that joke.
yeah, let's get out of here. That was a good one. Next we'll be chatting about moving. We'll catch you guys next time.
Movement.
All right, cool.
Movement.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, yo.
Thank you. Ciao.